Good afternoon, everyone. We'll call the meeting of the Silk Legislative Subcommittee to order at 2:02. Moving on to public comment. Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment at this time? Please note that the chair may place reasonable limitations on the amount of time you're able to speak.
Hi there, this is Deanna Gay. It's been a while, it's been a minute, but I would like to take this chance to speak up on a couple concerns that I had, and I don't know if this is a subcommittee or the place to bring it up as a thought to think about. Um, but I am now back in the direct support field. I support individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I've been doing this for on and off for quite a few years now. And I do consider myself to be a disability advocate. I myself have profound to severe hearing loss, or hearing aids. So, number one of the things I wanted to mention was, um, you know, I know we talked about the lack of caregivers, the difficulty in finding and obtaining and retaining caregivers. But this is no less true for finding and recruiting direct support professionals. And I've long had the idea that it's not enough to have agencies do outreach or, post job posting. That's not going to solve it. And one idea I had was, wouldn't it be great if the same, and this might have to go to a federal level, if the kind of student loan forgiveness that is offered to public servants and teachers, if that could also go to direct support professionals by means of recruiting them. Um, and also, if there was some way to encourage some sort of collaboration between Department of Rehabilitation and I don't know, maybe ADSD. I don't know the specifics. I'd be happy to jump in the pool and try to figure it out. But um, I'm thinking maybe people that are studying the social sciences, if they had some incentive, um, specific training or guidance on how to get to the field, and I don't know, maybe some advertising about how rewarding it is to be in the field. And, when there's not enough direct support providers, in effect, it creates a situation of effectively violating the Olmstead Act. Um, these folks can't access the community. They can't get their jobs. They can't be supported in their home. And I'm biased. I think my agency is doing a pretty good job, and most every agency out there is. But it's not solving the problem just to say we're doing outreach. So anyway, that's my 2 cents, and I wanted to offer that up. And the other thought that I had would be the 700-hour program. Now, the 700-hour program that is through the Department of Rehabilitation, what they basically do is a person will come in through rehabilitation. Maybe they're possibly already a client, someone who has a disability with rehabilitation, and they're looking for a job, and maybe the counselor, if they remember to mention it, in my experience, it's not always mentioned. I think there needs to be more awareness that 700 hours is even out there. And so they will screen the applicant, see what kind of experience they've had, and then they run it by HR, and then they will plug them into the jobs that are available within the state that that person could apply for and work for. There are several problems with that philosophy. It's kind of ableist in the effect that, first of all, people with disabilities don't have the same access to opportunities, let alone education, as your typical peer. And this is not, playing my violin or anything. That's just the reality. Um, so if we are truly looking to see how we can recruit, obtain, and give people with disabilities viable, rewarding positions within the state, I also think we need to take a look at what we call job creation. Instead of trying to take individuals and putting them into a box and say, this is a job, we're going to put you into this box. And like, say, someone like me who has a hearing loss, this job specifies, that they need to be able to hear on the job. but maybe they can do everything else amazingly. But if that person can't hear, are they going to be locked out of the job? Well, might possibly, yes. And so, yes, you can go through and apply for ADA accommodations and maybe have a specific part of the job removed. But I would like to see advanced job creation. I do that myself. When you're a direct support professional, they call it, we take a look at the individual. I mean, ideally, that's the case. And maybe you have an individual that they are so-called nonverbal, which I like to say multimodal. They may be using nonverbal cues, they may point, gesture, all of that. And at first glance, you think, oh my gosh, maybe they can't work or do any job. But if you take a closer look, maybe they could, maybe they can't speak, but maybe with assistive technology and an attuned job coach, they could be working at a computer, so to speak. So number one, job creation. Number two, I would like to see, I would like to elevate this issue of, it's basically a fire happening with, if we want to solve the direct support professional crisis, we need to take this up a little higher and look at incentives and opportunities and education. And that's my piece. Thank you for listening.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to comment at this time? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the minutes from February of 2023. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? In that case, can I accept the motion to approve the minutes as written or with corrections?
I approve it.
Thank you. Linda moves to approve. Is there a second?
This is Ace. I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Linda and a second from Ace to approve the minutes as written. All those in favor, is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Are there any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously of the members present. Moving on to overview and discussion of Executive Order 3. I'm going to turn this one over to Dawn since I don't see Nikki on the call.
Thank you. This is Dawn Lyons for the record. Governor Lombardo's Executive Order 2023-003 requires that all state agencies and boards and commissions submit 10 recommendations for removal of regulations from our Nevada Administrative Code, as well as recommending amendments to some of them as we can justify. So we're also required to hold public workshops to get public input on that. However, there are some exemptions that count, and the Statewide Independent Living Council, since we are a federally funded and federally regulated council, we don't really fall under any of the state regulations, so they don't necessarily, I mean, of course, state regulations apply, but we don't create any and we don't have any say in them. So I believe that the Silk is going to request an exemption. We're having a public workshop tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. You can find that information on our website. The meeting should be listed with its link on nvsilc.com under the meetings tab. I look forward to any public information regarding that you feel you would like to share. The Silk is looking for any public input we can get on that. We're, of course, since we are probably going to require or request an exemption, it's not mandated that we hold this public forum, but we wanted to anyway, because we do want to hear from you. And I did submit my talking points as a meeting material, so you're welcome to look that up, because I have some ideas about attending other public workshops and what potential, what you could potentially do to impact or affect those by giving your public comment at those public forums. So please check that out on our website. If there's any questions about the executive order, I can try and answer them now if anyone has any.
Are there any questions? Hearing and seeing none. Moving on to employment first. I'm going to turn this one over to both Dawn and Dr. Cosgrove as well.
So we have a bill.
Yay.
We have a bill. So it is SB 431. And what's really nice, because remember, we weren't sure if it was going to come out as a bill or budget. It's a bill, which means it's going to get a hearing. So that means as soon as it gets scheduled for a hearing, and I tracked it, so I'll be watching that. That means there'll be public comment. And so we can get as many people as we can to not just say we support this bill, but why. And then read into the record, we want employment first. This was what it would look like. We really hope this person works with the disability community. And then that way, not only are you putting it into the record, but you're speaking to the governor and his staff saying, hello, we like this. We want to talk to you about it. So it worked out really well.
And do we know, this is for either, do we know when that Secretary of Workforce Development or whatever it's called is going to be hired? I thought I saw 90 days after the beginning of the fiscal year, but the bill is 185 pages long, so I haven't made it all the way through yet.
So long. No, that's what I saw too, that as soon as the new fiscal year hits in July, there'll be a 90-day window for them to appoint or hire the person to come in. But it looked like it was a relatively short timeline, that this person needs to get up and running as quickly as possible.
So then we're looking at July, August, September. We're looking at by October 1st, if I'm doing the math.
October. Yeah, October's, I think, right. But this way we can have it written into the record. It'll be in the minutes, it'll be in the recording, that this is what we want from this person, is to help us implement employment first and why that's a good thing and how it would happen. So then that person, when they get hired, we just say, hey, watch the hearing. Here we are talking to you.
So this is Dawn Lyons for the record. Dr. Cosgrove, would you be so kind as to work with me behind the scenes to get something written up for the Silk to approve to put forward? Our meeting is next week on Wednesday and Thursday. So
yes,
great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is Sandra. Yes. And I was so excited. I forgot to say Sandra Cosgrove.
Thank you.
Yeah, but this, I mean, when I read through that, it's even better than I thought it was going to be. It's pretty explicit about what this person's supposed to do.
So I
Dr.
just-
Cosgrove, this is Ace.
Yes,
Go ahead, Ace.
Can you give me an overview of what that bill says, please?
So it's a long bill. As Stephen said, it's almost 100 pages long. And again, this is Sandra Cosgrove. And there's 7 secretaries. And so this is going to be the Secretary of Education and Workforce. And then it talks about how they're getting rid of Dieter, that Dieter will be replaced with something new that this person is going to stand up, that it should be collaborative with the community, that education and workforce should go hand in hand and work together. And so it's very clear that this person is supposed to be interfacing with constituents in the community to decide what it is the office needs to do. So not just being directed by the governor, but actually outward facing towards the community. Does that help?
Yeah, this is Ace. Yeah, thank you very much. I just kind of wanted a quick overview so I sort of knew exactly, because I have not looked, I don't know what that bill says. So I was just curious, I don't give public comment on something I don't thoroughly understand.
Right.
You know
and that reminds me, so this is Sandra Cosgrove. I'm going to do a Zoom meeting this Sunday at 6 p.m. and I'm going to get the link. I'm going to put the link over in the chat to read through. There were 6 bills that came out, and to actually read through them to make sure that we all understand what they say. And if there's any questions, I will reach out to the governor's office to ask for clarification. So I put the link over in the chat. It's through my little nonprofit Vote Nevada. But I'll bring it up on the screen and we'll literally walk through each of the bills to see what the language says. And then I can keep notes if there's any questions or clarifications. And then Ace, like you said, then that way when we do public comment, we're sure exactly what the words mean.
Right, and this is Ace again. Thank you, Dr. Cosgrove. I appreciate that. Could you please send that link via email through Dawn so that she can send it out to all of us? That would
Absolutely.
make it easier for me than trying to grab it off of a chat.
Absolutely. Yep, I'll do it right now.
Thank you. Thank you,
Mhm.
thank you, thank you.
And this is Stephen. So my question would be, does that, with these secretary positions, does that mean administrators and directors are going away? Or is the secretary just going to supervise?
It looks like, this is Sandra Cosgrove, it looks like they're going to be supervisors. But it also looks like they have discretion to move things around if they feel that that would be the best thing to do.
Yeah, this is Dawn Lyons. I think even in the summary that Senator Kekapper sent out, that it said that there would be restructuring.
Yeah, that was the word I was thinking, restructuring. But we want to, so this is Sandra, we want to make sure if that's going to happen, that we're in the front door as quickly as possible if this person wants feedback.
Because I did see, this is Stephen for the record, I did see that some of the ADSD commissions fall under the secretary, but the Silk is not one of them. And I assume that's because they're federally regulated. But it's kind of a uncharted territory for all of us, I think.
But this is Dawn Lyons for the record. It's actually, that's partially true. It's because we are autonomous from the state, but our DSC would still remain Aging and Disability Services. And we changed that from vocational rehabilitation a long time ago.
Got it.
So this is Sandra. So Stephen, I know you kind of eyeballed it too. Was there anything that kind of jumped out to you when you were reading through it, besides what you just said?
Not really. Like I said, I haven't even made it all the way through yet because
Okay,
it's almost
okay.
200 pages.
Yeah, all of them are like 100 pages long.
No wonder they had to push the deadline.
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay. I'll send that out, but we'll take some time on Sunday and make sure we walk through the language so that we all feel comfortable that we know what it means.
Got it.
Okay.
And then would you mind sending Dawn also the link to register for that meeting in case folks want to?
Yep, I
Come.
just sent it to her.
Got it. Oh, because the link you put in the chat was to the bill.
Oh, did it go to the bill? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, yeah, I got the wrong link. Yeah, but I just sent it to Dawn so she can send it out directly.
Got it.
Okay.
So then our next ad hoc meeting, just to close the loop on this, is April 17th at 9, I believe. Is that correct, Dawn?
This is Dawn Lyons, excuse me, our next legislative subcommittee meeting?
No, the Employment First Committee.
Oh, yeah. I believe you're right. I have to look it up because I don't remember dates off the top of my head. Yep, the April 17th, Monday at 9 a.m.
Got it. And then by then, committee passage in the first house will have passed. So we'll know by that point whether or not it's gotten a hearing or anything like that, or if it's gonna, well, I'm assuming, is the bill gonna be exempt?
Yeah, this is Sandra. The governor's bills are automatically exempt.
Got it. So then that means they'll go till the very end.
Yeah, it's like, who knows? And I'm sure, this is Sandra, I'm sure there's going to be negotiation. That the Democrats now see what he wants, they get to come to the table and they can start negotiating. But I'm hoping they also bring the public in by giving it a hearing so that the public can have, weigh in and give their 2 cents.
Yep. Any other questions for Dawn or Dr. Cosgrove on Employment First? Hearing and seeing none, we will move on to bullying in schools. This was the item that was a topic of hot discussion at our February meeting. So I'm curious who I would want to turn this one over to. I'm thinking it was kind of a combination. I think it was RCIL that was kind of the most vocal on this. So I think I'll turn it over to Linda and Dee Dee.
You put me on the spot.
Sorry.
Well, one of the things that's happening, that happened for us here at in Carson is we had a couple of girls that is our clients. They are our clients. And we actually had to pull them out of the Carson City school system and help the mother get on to doing school from the house. So she's homeschooling them now through a program. I believe it's called ACE. She says the girls are doing very well, but it was the impact of the bullying that set them into a significant depression. So now they are having to seek out therapy for that. So I don't see that I know it's a federal law I think it's a federal law. I'm not really sure. Maybe Don can help me out on this because Dee Dee is on another call. I believe it is a law across the nation that there is not supposed to be any bullying in school, and the schools are supposed to abide by that. But here in Carson, I don't know how bad it is anywhere else, but it just seems as though the schools are not, they're like playing favoritism, and I've noticed that also that it affects a lot of the kids that are different, special needs kids. And that's where the bullying comes into play, is the fact that most of the kids are of special needs or have something that's different about them, and they get picked on, and the schools are not adhering to the rules about bullying.
Dawn, go ahead.
This is Dawn Lyons. This is definitely not a Nevada problem. It is a nationwide problem. And I don't know if it's in law or in policy, Linda, but I know it is out there that schools and educational systems are not to allow bullying. And I'm sure they all prefer that it didn't occur. However, with that said, I believe that it starts from the top. I believe it starts with the administration and the school staff. And that, like you said, if they play favorites, how are children going to follow any rules appropriately about bullying? So I think the education really needs to start with administration. We need to start at the top, and we need to inform them about that aspect of the bullying that's happening in school, where it's not creating any resolutions, but it's adding to the problem.
Right.
And I think that might be something that we can put in our next state plan for independent living, because we do see it happening a lot. I wonder if we can get some more data from the Department of Education. Jennifer, I know that you're on the call today. Do you know if that's some data that's been collected in at least the school districts in Nevada?
So what specific data? I'm sorry. I'm listening to two different things at the same time right now, and I heard
That's okay.
like education and bullying, and so of course I turned that one down and this one up. Sorry, legislative session can be a monster, as we all know. So I'm sorry, I'm Jennifer Kane. I'm a Silk member. I'm representing the Nevada Department of Education Office of Inclusive Education. So I'm on the special education side of things, but we have an office for safe and respectful learning environments. There's a ton of law associated with this. And a few years ago, we developed, I'm going to drop the link right now. This is the link for Safe Voice, to remove many of the biases and things that you're talking about that tend to happen in individual school sites. Safe Voice was created as a place for people to report bullying outside of the school. So it's at the state level. And if it's reported through Safe Voice, then there is an investigation process that happens that the school has to follow through with, that is overseen by folks out of the Department of Education and the Office of Safe and Respectful Learning. So there's a ton. I am not the primary person you're going to want to talk to about it, which is why I put the link for the Office of Safe and Respectful Learning. I'm not even the person within our Office of Inclusive Education. I do secondary transition, which is why I'm on the Nevada Silk, working with transition age youth to get them to post-secondary education, training, employment, and independent living, which is why I fit so nicely here on the Silk. But we have experts at the department that work in the Office of Safe and Respectful Learning that will be able to support, answer questions, talk to you about the laws in Nevada that are in place for these exact things that you're talking about. Like Dawn said, this is not a Nevada specific problem, but that doesn't matter when you're a parent. It's a problem for your child. And in this case, it sounds like it's causing them to need to be homeschooled and have counseling. And so this is exactly what that office was created for, exactly what Safe Voice was created for, was to remove many of those kind of biases and things that can happen and really have an oversight for bullying that hopefully cuts through some of that stuff that we know can be issues. So I hope that you guys will reach out, use Safe Voice. There are tons and tons of money that has been put into social emotional learning and everything related to this through COVID funds, but also prior to that as well, when this office was created and Safe Voice was created. So while I'm not the expert, I'm happy to help you get to the experts to get the support you need. Thank you.
This is Dawn Lyons. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And that's why I called on you, because you're a wealth of information when it comes to that kind of thing. So I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you being available to answer that question for me. We will definitely reach out.
Dee Dee, go ahead.
Hi, Dee Dee Formaster, for the record, Director of RCIL. I just want to redirect for a moment about bullying. The Carson City School District has a major problem with bullying and people with disabilities. And they basically click you over on ignore. And so consequently, I have helped 3 families remove their children from school because they could not get any help and assistance. There was hair pulling going on. There was people slugging the people with disabilities. And we turned in numerous reports, and I guess it went into the circular file
Dee Dee,
because nothing was done.
I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Dawn Lyons. I was just wondering, did you try the Safe Voice link that Jennifer just mentioned? Because I hadn't even known about that before.
Dawn, she wasn't in here for that.
Oh, okay. So Jennifer put in the chat a link to Safe Voice, which is the office that can help with investigating bullying reports from anywhere in the community. So I would say that's a great place to start. That's what Jennifer gave us. And she gave that to us because she thinks they may be able to help provide us with some data surrounding the bullying issue within our schools. So I'm going to be reaching out to them as well. So, but I would definitely start with reaching out to them to submit a report so that they can investigate the issues that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say that it just got so severe that we're talking, the kids were suicidal.
Yeah, and I told them that because of the depression, they were having to go seek therapy.
Yeah. And so it was totally out of control, could not get a thing done. So we just pulled them out of the school system. And it's sad because I think that they needed school, but when it's the difference between school or suicide, I told the parents, pull them out, helped them get connected up with online school. And then we have assisted in helping to provide resources for socialization. And also the ability to be able to get together with other homeschoolers their age. So we've helped with resources, but it's sad that that's going on in our schools. And I'm going to shut up now because I get on my bandwagon and don't know what to do.
Dr. Cosgrove, go ahead.
So I'm also the co-chair of the Nevada Advisory Committee to the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, and we're about to start a study to look at the shortages of professionals, not just teachers, but professionals in our schools and what's happening to the kids and their families because of these shortages. And so I'm wondering if there's like shortages of teachers' aides and other professionals who are in a school that would assist the teacher if the bullying was going on, or that would be out at playground duty or be in the lunchroom. Jennifer, are you aware? I mean, is that something maybe you're hearing about from the schools, that they just don't have enough bodies in the building?
So I will tell you that my answer to this is going to be as a parent of a student in Clark County School District, more than because I'm hearing, so in my role at the department within the Office of Inclusive Education, the folks that I meet with regularly are the special education district administrators. And so we've had, our most recent meeting was just on January 18th. And I can tell you that because I'm looking to bring, we have an international conference for secondary transition coming to Reno in October, which we're super excited to be hosting. And so, you know, I'm out there trying to find out how many teachers and educators these directors are willing to support attending that event, so we can help fund, you know, their attendance and support the districts. And so I can tell you through that conversation, which is a little different than what you asked, what they're telling us is it's not that they wouldn't support their teachers going, especially out in the rural areas. They just don't have any subs to cover if they send their teachers to the event. And so I can tell you substitute teachers are in great shortage in the rural areas. I can tell you that within our urban districts, I live here in Las Vegas and my daughter attends school in Clark County School District. I know there's still hundreds of teachers short, and we're, you know, approaching April here. So I know that, you know, we hear often about the teacher shortages and the substitute teacher shortages in our role, in my role anyway, at the Department of Ed. As far as the others, I happen to have a project through our ESSER 3 funds where we are paying for and training qualified paraprofessionals to go out and work with career and technical education teachers to open up doors from students from special populations, not only students with disabilities, but there are actually 6 special populations outlined in career and technical education law. And so we're trying to create situations where there's additional support in the programs so that counselors can recruit kids into the program, case managers can do that, because what the data shows us is that students with disabilities and students from other subpopulations who participate in career and technical education, they graduate with higher rates of standard diplomas. They are more ready for the workforce because they have workplace readiness skills as part of CTE and such. So, you know, so I happen to be doing work with paraprofessionals on another project, and I can tell you that we paid for and provided funds for these paraprofessionals through a competitive grant. And there were a number of those positions that went unfilled this entire year. So we have to, 2 of which were like right here in Clark County. And then we've had some rural areas where they were able to hire someone, but they didn't, you know, they didn't stay, they weren't retained. So I can tell you just from my personal experiences on my limited projects, it sounds like it is an issue across the board for all kind of school. And then back to my daughter, who happens to be just down the street at a public elementary school, neighborhood elementary school here in Clark County School District. We're fortunate to have most of the positions filled because it's a school that people want to work at that has a really strong tradition as a family oriented small school in a neighborhood. But that is not the case, I would say, for the majority of schools. I think they're struggling for everything. We don't have enough bus drivers, guys. You know, it's just, it's across the board. So that's half me as a parent, half me with a foot in CTE at the department, and half me as your transition person within the Office of Inclusive Ed. But yeah, I think it's a problem period across the board.
Thank you,
Not
because
just in
this is,
Nevada.
yeah, this is Sandra. This is what we're hearing, that it's not just a teacher shortage. It's just professionals across the board are just absent in these schools. Thank you.
I just have one other question for Dr. Cosgrove before I move on. Do you know if Dr. Hunt, and I forget who her counterpart at UNR is, that's doing the behavioral health study. Do you know if they're studying teachers as well? Or if there's somebody in the
Yeah.
College of Ed that's studying it by
Yeah,
chance?
they're not, but there are people who are doing that. They're looking at shortages and they're starting to say it's professionals across the board. Because you could have a licensed, very qualified teacher, but if they have no support services to help them, they just get overwhelmed. Yes,
Steve-
but I do know that's going on.
Sorry, Stephen,
That's-
both myself and Ace Patrick have had our hands up. I didn't know if you saw us because you said you were going to move on, but did you want us to?
Then to move on to you was my
Okay,
next thing.
thank you.
Go ahead.
I just, this is Dawn Lyons. I just wanted to add to that conversation. I do know that the teacher shortage and staff shortage is a huge problem. However, that's my however again. I also know that prior to the shortage being a problem, even when my adult daughter was in grammar school in a different state, her teacher was picking on her. There are multiple occasions where teachers or staff are the ones bullying the children with disabilities. And that is where I think we need to educate. And that's where I think we need to focus, because if we don't start it there, it's not going to change between the kids. That's what I was getting at.
Got it. Ace.
Yeah, hi, this is Ace. My brother's been a teacher for Washoe County School District for close to 30 years now. And he has told me that they've got a shortage clear across the board with everybody. And that includes custodians and just everybody, yeah, bus drivers, bus attendants, all the way across. Does anybody know? I had seen an article and I didn't know if it came from the state of Nevada, if it was like Clark County or another state that was thinking of buying up, purchasing, that the school district was thinking of purchasing properties like apartment complexes, stuff like that, to provide housing that teachers could afford. I think that was here, right? State of Nevada.
So this is
Anybody aware
Sandra.
of that?
Yeah, Ace, this is Sandra. They had a hearing on that either yesterday or the day before in
Yeah.
the legislature.
Yeah, so they're thinking that that will help. I was thinking, why don't you just pay them more? You know, they're still going to have to pay rent and utilities and food. And I'm like, why don't we just pay them more? Why are we letting school districts become landlords now? To me, that doesn't make sense. But anyway, yeah, so I did hear that, but yeah, the shortage is insane. So when it comes to bullying, I just looked it up. I don't see anything nationally that protects kids from being bullied, but I do see that each state individually has its own statutes, and Nevada does have that. But one of the things it says is to go directly to the school district and file a complaint. I mean, that's the first thing on the list, right? And what do you do if the school district isn't willing to hear you, especially when it comes to kids with disabilities? Especially those with mental illness, diagnosed with mental illness in particular. So I can't imagine. It's tough.
Before I go back to RCIL, I just want to, I put in the chat an old presentation from OSRL, the Office of Safe and Respectful Learning. So I think we're kind of moving in the direction of having OSRL present at our next meeting. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, that'd be great.
And then Jennifer put, there's also a shortage of school psychs, especially in the rurals. And then Dr. Cosgrove posted AB 37, which we're going to get to in a little bit. And then also an article from the Indy about teachers in affordable housing. RCIL, did you still have a comment?
Yeah, this is Linda for the record. I just wanted to make note that even though we have all of these charities that are supporting the non-bullying thing, like Don iterated there, it should start from top. The teachers that are going in there, the supervisors, the principals, the vice principals, all of them, they are the ones where it begins at. We should be teaching them. They should be taking classes. They should know the soft skills on how to treat and be respectful to those that have special needs or are going through any kind of mental kind of status. And it's just, it's like it has jumped over the log of what is really there. You know, the whole problem is that the people that are teaching that have not been taught this, in retrospect, all of us that are getting taught, I can remember going to school and be taught, bullied, but when I complained about it, oh, it's just something that you have to go through. It's peer pressure. No, it's not. It's an act of being mean. It's an act of not
Hateful.
learning where you need to have your respect set. If you don't have the respect for other people, you don't have that respect for yourself. So yeah, they all need training prior to even going into a school and teaching.
And the reality is monkey see, monkey do. So if the teacher's doing it, you better believe the students are following.
Or the teachers.
Got Dawn.
Thank you. This is Dawn Lyons. And I want to say that it's not that teachers are bad teachers necessarily. Yeah, there might be a couple bad apples in the bunch, but I think for the most part, they're just not educated. They just don't understand. And if they don't understand how a child with special needs needs attention or to be treated, then how are they going to enforce that between children, right? So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, they need that training, definitely need that training.
Ace, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Ace. I just want to say something. I've talked to my brother about this. One of the things he said is that we have tied the hands of teachers so much that they have to be careful of being sued. It basically is, if they see something or something is occurring in a classroom, if they can, they send somebody down to the principal's office, or they call the principal's office and it's on the principal, vice principal. Teachers have, I feel, more than they can handle right now. And they're not trained because they're not supposed to be trained to do this. I mean, you know, in some ways, okay? If you're talking about parents who will possibly sue a teacher because a teacher has done something and it's gotten back to the parent via the student, I mean, there are a lot of legalities, I feel, and a lot of complications. And I think it's easy, you know, to sit and say teachers need to have more training, more this, more. I mean, they are going through a lot. And I think the struggle is real. And I think my brother has said, you know, he's scared to interfere in any confrontation or altercation. And he's worked with high school and middle school kids from some pretty low-income areas where there's a lot of gang violence and stuff. And then he's now at an elementary school where he's seeing kids acting out in school that aren't even special ed kids. So, and he said it's just, you know, he's spending a lot of time trying to just get the class to be manageable so that he can teach. So I think it's tough, you know.
This is Linda for the record. Ace, I know what you're saying about the teachers. They do have a lot on their plate, but I'm saying it starts from the top. The supervisor, the people like the principals, the vice principals, the people that are running the school, those are the ones that should be accountable for giving favoritism, because that's what we have seen. Dee Dee personally seen that at the school that she had to pull the 2 girls out of because of the bullying. And they still didn't want to let him go because they felt that it was not the other person's issue, it was the girl's issue that was having the problem.
School districts still try and call and control them,
Mm-hmm.
even though they're being homeschooled. And so basically, I told the mother to quit listening to the school. She is now in control of her kids' education, not
Yeah.
the school.
This is Ace. I hear you. I hear you. I'm just saying that, having heard from my brother's perspective, what it feels like to be teaching, it's a different perspective. That's all. And that he has said he has had to be very, very cautious. So, I think principals, vice principals, school board, the trustees, the superintendent, it has to come from them, or it has to be made law. That this kind of stuff can't happen. So that's the other avenue, is to make sure that it's a law. It's not, even federal. So I don't know. I just think it's so complex, right? So,
Dawn, go ahead.
Thank you. This is Dawn Lyons. As I stated before, I don't want to push blame or point fingers necessarily at any one entity, whether it's the teachers, the students, the administration. It doesn't matter. The problem is there's a problem. And what I'm saying is that the education needs to happen. And yes, Ace, I understand teachers are overwhelmed, and I really empathize and feel bad for so many teachers in the position that they're in these days, especially lately with everything else that's going on after COVID and you name it. But that's beside the point. The point we're talking about right now is regarding educating staff of the education system on how to appropriately interpret children with special needs. Because what's happening, and let me give you the perfect example that I can give you, is my own daughter's experience. When she was in 1st grade, her teacher thought she was being stubborn. My daughter's on the autism spectrum. She didn't understand what was going on. She was happy-go-lucky. She didn't really try to be stubborn or try to have an attitude or anything like that. The teacher misinterpreted how her behaviors were as being rude. So she would every day make her stand on the wall and watch everyone else play at recess. And until I found out, because then I had meetings with the school. But the point is what if she were nonverbal? Okay, so the point I'm trying to make is that it's not the student's fault. They're not trying to have these behaviors all the time. Sometimes they are, right? And it's not the teacher's fault. They just don't understand what those behaviors are and how to interpret them. Not all the time, right? Sometimes it is. But if we educate them, if we give them the tools, then anything that is legal related, anything that could create some kind of a lawsuit situation, that's between the administrative staff and the teachers to sort out administratively. That's a different issue as well. I think it's our opportunity, in fact, a better opportunity when there is less staff to get this message out that's so important, and fine tune it before they are fully staffed, so that we can have a full staff of fully educated, ready and willing, able workers to work with students and cope with what's really going on. That's all. Thank you.
Julie, did you have a comment?
I was just gonna say that. Well, I was gonna say something, and then Dawn said what I was gonna say.
Got it.
So thank you, Dawn.
Are there any further remarks on this topic? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to Assembly Bill 161/133. Dawn,
Thank you. This is Dawn Lyons. I believe it's now posted on our website, the material for AB 161. It was a letter that let me go back. Sorry. On Tuesday, the Deaf Commission, the Governor's Council on Developmental Disabilities, and the Nevada Statewide Independent Living Council all had a special meeting to approve an educational letter to submit to Congress or to the Nevada legislature. Congress, ooh, giving them a heavier name than they have. Anyway, we wrote a letter that on behalf of our councils and commissions that we feel is important for them to understand, because the original bill that was merged with another bill that was intended for people with autism was merged with a bill, AB 161, that was for the deaf community. And what they both kind of had separately was that they would be putting something on a driver's license to indicate that the person is communication impaired. And so that's what it merged as into AB 161. And the disability community had huge issues with that. So we got together and we discussed those issues. We wrote them into a letter and we approved it at that meeting on Tuesday to go ahead and submit that from all of us. Some of the highlights of that letter, since it was just posted, you probably haven't had a chance to read it yet. If you have, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but some of the highlights of that letter included our concern about private health information being shared. Even though it's a very vague description, people could interpret that in many different ways and could discriminate against a person because of it. For instance, if you go to apply for a job and you have communication impaired on your driver's license, they might assume that you're not able to do the job, or that they don't want to give you the time. And they don't have to tell you why, because we're an at-will state. There's a concern that if you went to a nightclub, that they see a communication impaired on there and they might say, well, you can't come into our establishment. There could be a lawsuit. No, we don't need you here, and just refuse you service anywhere. So those were our concerns. And the outcome so far from the work group was that they had changed it to be a voluntary, if you want to put something on your driver's license, you can. If not, it can just be in the registry on your registration. And we think that that was a more appropriate action, because I know that the initial intent of that was well intended. It was well-meaning, because we're concerned about being pulled over and an officer not knowing you can't hear them, right? Or whatever it might be. So I get it. And we got it, but it was those concerns that we wanted to voice and make sure that it was being handled more appropriately with the person who is going to be affected having that choice. So that's so far, that's where it's at. And I don't believe it's been absolutely approved yet, but I can let you know further at the next meeting if something has been decided.
perfect. So do we have to take any action on this since the executive committee already did?
Right. No, our councils and commissions as whole councils and commissions have already gone ahead and approved the educational letter. So it should be on our website now for this meeting. So if you need to go back to our website and pull that up and read it, you can.
Got it. Moving, any questions on 161/133? Hearing and seeing none, we will move on. I'm going to take the next two agenda items together since they're a long list of bills. So about an hour ago, I did my status update report. So I'm going to start with Assemblywoman Brown May, her disability bills. There are 7 of them. The first one is Assembly Bill 78. That has passed the Assembly floor unanimously and is now in Senate Commerce and Labor. Hearing hasn't been scheduled in Senate CNL as of yet. Assembly Bill 79, I'm going to parking lot for a second, come back to that one last since it was mentioned during public comment. Assembly Bill 99 deals with Medicaid reimbursement rates and providing a cost of living adjustment to them, all of them. That's going to be work sessioned in Assembly HHS tomorrow. Assembly Bill 100 is the caregiver bill, which there's a group, I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, that wrote a letter of support on that one. That's also going to be work session in Assembly HHS tomorrow. Assembly Bill 116 is the Down syndrome informational bill that was heard about a week and a half ago. Hasn't been scheduled for work session yet. Assembly Bill 206, which is also going to be work session in Assembly HHS tomorrow, is that's going to add a 12th seat to the Deaf Commission, which is a certified interpreter that's registered through ADSD. And then Assembly Bill 259 is the subminimum wage phase out bill. That one was heard in Assembly HHS, again, about a week and a half ago, and it's exempt. So it'll head down to the wire on that one. And then Assembly Bill 79, as I mentioned previously, was heard about a little over a month ago in Assembly Government Affairs. The SILC, the DD Council, and I worked together on substantial amendments to it. Hasn't been scheduled for work session yet. Dawn, do you know if those amendments were made a meeting material?
I believe they were. This is Dawn Lyons. I believe they were. No, I actually don't think they were. It was discussed. It was what they discussed verbally at the meeting that's what they would do. So I don't know if they have it in writing now, but it wasn't for the meeting materials at the time.
Got it. And then, so those are Assemblywoman Brown May's 7 disability bills of her 10 bills that she had. Moving on to Assemblywoman, go ahead, Dawn.
Sorry.
That's okay.
This is Dawn Lyons. Can I just add one to that? Is us
Sure.
Assembly Bill 6, I want to say it's 68. It's about adding through taxation, adding a crisis fund for behavioral health service recipients, some housing assistance. And I want to say that although I really support this bill and I think it's really needed, it's unfortunately doesn't cover the entire disability community. And I feel like, nothing about us without us. They failed to ask us when they created this bill. I'm glad they're doing it. Wish it was a little bit more far reaching, but I wanted to mention that as well, because that is, it's an important bill and I do want to see it passed. I hope they amend it to include more of the disability population, but I doubt it since it's through Division of Public and Behavioral Health. So just wanted to mention that. Thank you, Stephen.
Gotcha. So then I've added that one to our list for the next meeting. Was it property taxes? Is that what it is, Don?
Yeah, I think so. It was additional property taxes to go towards a crisis fund.
Dee Dee, go ahead.
This is Dee Dee Formaster for the record. I testified in behalf of this bill. And I can honestly say that it would be nice if it included the whole disability community. But unfortunately, when it was written, it didn't include the whole disability community. But I can say I did testify for this to go through because I have been on the roundabout merry-go-round with more than one of my mentally ill clients and could not get services. And so I'm hoping that SB 68 does go through, but Dawn is right. The whole disability community needs services like this. And it's imperative that we work towards that. And part of that would be to help us get more housing. That's the crux of everything, is that we don't have any housing. So it's leaving our most vulnerable people on the streets. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So moving on to Assemblywoman Leslie Cohen's disability.
Stephen, I'm sorry to interrupt. Dr.
That's okay.
Cosgrove has her hand up.
Go ahead, Dr. Cosgrove. Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, this is Dr. Cosgrove. This is Sandra. I just remembered when Dee Dee brought up about the housing, that the last time we met, I had talked about the bills that were going to get people free IDs. So AB 195 was to get the driver's license or ID for anyone that's been incarcerated in the last 12 months. But then there was AB 135, and that bill was to get homeless youth, get them assistance getting a birth certificate, and then either getting them an ID or a driver's license. And here's what was really interesting about that hearing is that it was Assemblywoman Gonzalez who brought the bill and did the explanation. And then when it came time for Q&A, it was Republican Assemblyman Gray who put his hand up first. And he's the person that's always counting every nickel and making sure all the money's there. And here's what he said. He looked at her and he said, "Why aren't you getting everybody an ID? If the government requires you to have an ID, why doesn't everybody get an ID?" And we all went, "What?" We were kind of shocked that he said that. But then here's what he said. He goes, "It's my brother too." He goes, "My family has to struggle with a brother who has mental illness and homelessness, and we struggle trying to get him an ID." And so Chair Peters, her eyes went this big and she said, "Oh, okay, well, see me right after this meeting. We'll go talk to the guy from the DMV and see how much that would cost." So I'm watching for AB 135 to come back, and I'm hoping it's actually going to say anyone who needs to get an ID, who wants to sign a piece of paper saying they need help, that they will get help and they will get a free ID.
Yay. So now moving on to Assemblywoman Cohen's bills. She's got 3 of them that are disability related. The first one is Assembly Bill 252, which is about accessible museums. Actually, before we go any further, I want to check with our accommodations team. Does anybody need a break?
Is the interpreters are okay.
Got it. Becky, are you okay? Got it. So Assembly Bill 252 is about accessible museums. That one was heard in Assembly Government Affairs last week, I think it was. And that one's exempt. Hasn't been scheduled for work session yet. I think it was supposed to have been either yesterday or today, but then it got pulled. Dawn, go ahead.
Thank you. This is Dawn Lyons. On that note, they reached out to the DD Council and Catherine reached out to me, and together we came up with some suggested language changes before they actually moved that into a bill form. They didn't take all of our suggestions, of course, but I saw what they did with from what they originally had, and they improved it greatly. It was really significantly singling out the blind community, and we wanted to ensure that the rest of the disability community was considered as well. So they put it in the language, and now it is there, and they did that without taking away credit from the organizations that helped her put that one together. So I just wanted to mention that they actually reached out to us, which is unusual, but it's good.
Yep. So then the next one is Assembly Bill 255, which is concerning foster care adoptions of children with disabilities. And I want to make a note before I forget. The committee, so that one was work session, I think, like I said, either yesterday or today. That one's also exempt. So that one is capped at age either 18 or 19. That's Assemblywoman Cohen's. But the note I want to make is that Assembly Bill 495, the committee is sponsoring to raise it to 21 to account for students with disabilities that may stay in school to obtain pre-vocational or college readiness skills. So that one will be added. The 495 will be added to our next meeting as well. And that's a committee sponsored bill. And then last but not least, the other day, finally, her minor guardianship bill was released. That one will be heard by Assembly Judiciary. I've proposed to both her and Assemblywoman Backus, who seem to have the two guardianship bills, amendments surrounding supported decision making. So we'll see what happens with those.
Sorry, Stephen, what was that number?
Which one? Oh, Assembly Bill 446 is Assemblywoman Cohen's minor guardianship bill.
Thank you.
So that takes us through Assemblywoman Brown May and Assemblywoman Cohen's. So now we've got 5 other bills. There are 6 listed on the agenda, but one was a duplicate. Assembly Bill 37, which was mentioned earlier, was heard by Assembly Revenue earlier this month. That one is exempt. Senate Bill 43, I'm going to flip-flop the two, I'm sure, but one of them, there's Senate Bill 43 and Senate Bill 4. One of them is the Senior and Disability RX program, and the other is making changes to the Commission on Services for People with Disabilities, Commission on Aging, and the Deaf Commission. Both of those have been work sessioned from Senate HHS, but the thing I noticed is that they've been placed on the secretary's desk. So I don't know, Dr. Cosgrove, can you kind of clarify what happens when that happens?
So when something gets laid on the secretary's desk, this is Sandra Cosgrove, it means it's being pulled out of the process for some reason. And there's a number of different reasons why. It could be that the speaker is trying to force negotiations, but it can also mean that there's something that they haven't gotten in place. The funding might not be secured yet. So there's a number of things that could be happening with that. Without knowing directly from the speaker or the majority leader why that happened. All we know is that it's been now put outside the process and will not move forward until it gets pulled off the desk and put back in the process.
Got
But if
it.
it doesn't come off the desk, it's dead.
Got it. Dawn, go ahead.
Thank you, Dawn Lyons for the record. So I can speak for the Senior and Disability RX program bill, and I believe that was SB4. That one, and this is just a wild but educated guess. Because I attended the Aging and Disability Services public workshop on the governor's executive order on Wednesday. And that bill may have been removed because it's going to be a NAC that, or a Nevada Administrative Code, that will be eliminated or proposed to be eliminated by Aging and Disability Services, which serves the same purpose as the bill would have, because they're completely changing it. So as far as the SB 43 goes, I don't know what's going on with that one exactly. It may just be on hold because of their recommendations for changes or whatever. I'm not sure, but I don't think that was part of what they wanted to eliminate. So I'm not sure about that one, but I just wanted to throw that out there because I'm pretty sure that's why.
Got it. So then next we have Senate Bill 45, which is the personal needs allowance bill. That one was heard in Senate Finance the other day. I was a bit perplexed by the fiscal note, and I did raise this during the hearing. It says that if the personal needs allowance is increased, the patient liability for the facility, whether it's a hospital, skilled nursing, etc., would decrease. So then the cost to Medicaid or the insurance companies would increase. But shouldn't it be the complete opposite? Does anybody know anything about that one?
No, this is Dawn Lyons. Stephen, I'll go ahead and get together with you behind the scenes after the meeting and we can go over it and I can try to help you figure it out because I haven't read that.
Got it. And then the last two that we have are Senate Bill 191. It was referred to Senate HHS. That one would increase the age cap for applied behavioral analysis to 26. The problem I see with that one is they want to raise the fees for, I believe it's BCBAs and BCABAs from $100 to $550. So I don't know what's going to happen with Dawn. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Dawn Lyons. So I heard a little bit of behind the scenes on this one too. And what they want to do is they want to change it to a fee for service model, similar to another program that they have, because it's more in alignment with the norm, so to speak, and what their needs are. So what they're hearing from the public is they want older children to get the same services because they had slipped through the cracks earlier, right? So they want their older children to start this process and at least get some services, but some of them aren't dependent on Medicaid or have no insurance. So they want there to be a sliding fee scale available so that more people can participate and that allows a bigger pool of participants.
And then our last one is Senate Bill 158, kind of going back to where we were earlier a little bit. This one would propose cameras in special education classrooms. That one's been heard by Senate Education already. It's a repeat from I believe it's either 19 and or 21 or just 21. but there's a huge fiscal note on it. So when I saw Senator Hammond, who's the sponsor of the bill during Disability Awareness Day, he said he's looking for some more detail from the school districts, particularly Clark and Washoe, of what portion would be installation, what portion would be maintenance, et cetera, to try to bring the fiscal note down a little bit. I think Clark alone was like $14 million or something on that one. So those are our bills that are listed on the agenda today. Do we have any questions on any of either Assemblywoman Brown May and Cohen's bills or other bills? Dawn, go ahead.
This is Dawn Lyons. I don't have any questions, but I just want to say once again, thank you so much, Stephen, for doing all this research and keeping up with this and bringing this information to our legislative subcommittee. I really, really appreciate it. So thank you.
Not a problem. So that takes us to almost our last agenda item, which is approving tentative items for our next meeting and announcing our next meeting date. So I'll start with the meeting date. It's going to be Wednesday, Wednesday or Thursday, Dawn? May 18th at 1 o'clock. I think it's a Thursday, but don't quote me.
It is a Thursday.
Got it. So then in terms of bills, in addition to the ones that we've heard today, I have on my list the governor's government efficiency bill, the one that we were discussing earlier. The other two autism bills, Senate Bill 411, which would seek to make the autism court from Clark County statewide. Dawn, go ahead.
Sorry, I put my hand up, but I didn't think you'd call me so quick. This is Dawn Lyons. I was just going to look up the bills that came from the briefing that Dr. Cosgrove had sent out to some of us. But since I haven't had the chance to look those up specifically, I know, Sandra, you're better at remembering numbers. You might remember that bill that we want to revisit about workforce.
So this is Sandra Cosgrove. It is SB 431.
Thank you. That's the one I want to
Yeah, it's that one.
revisit.
Yep, the 185-page one. So then, like I said, Senate Bill 411 would seek to make the autism court statewide, and then would also revise the membership of the Autism Commission to make the school district employees non-voting members, and then make conforming changes to the quorum, et cetera, to account for that. Assembly Bill 422 is, like I said, the third autism bill related bill, which would, based on a suspected diagnosis, refer children to either early intervention and or the autism treatment assistance program. And then we have Senate Bill 4, which, like I said, I can't remember which one is which, but one of them is the Senior and Disability RX, and the other one is the Deaf Commission, Commission on Aging, and Commission on Services for People with Disabilities, or CSPD. So we have that one. And then I've got two elections bills. One was heard the other day, Assembly Bill 246. I caught the end of Catherine's testimony on that one. I'll have to do a little bit further digging on it. Oh, that's the limited English proficiency bill. But Catherine was testifying on that it should include like sign language and other communication methods that relate to the disability community as well. And then Assembly Bill 242 is the other election bill, which would increase the number of voting booths for people with disabilities and people who are elderly from 1 to 2. And it also gives the local election officials latitude that if they find there's more of a disability population in a precinct, I guess is what it's called for election purposes, that they have the right to add additional booths beyond the 2. And then I know there's a bill, I wasn't sure if it was Assembly Bill 332 or not, but I know there's a student loan forgiveness bill, as was mentioned during public comment, for, I think it's providers of healthcare. Dr. Cosgrove, go ahead.
Yeah, Sandra Cosgrove. That one is AB 69.
Got it.
Yeah.
So we will update that one. And then we'll verify the number for the property tax for mental health crisis center bill. And then I've got the 2 identification bills, AB 195, which I know has already been work sessioned, and then Assembly Bill 135. And then, like I mentioned previously, the Assembly Judiciary Committee bill on foster care support for people with disability, for children with disabilities. And then last but not least, Assembly Joint Resolution 1 from last session. That was the one that would make changes to the Constitution to better reflect disability language as it exists today. That one passed the full assembly within the last couple of days and has now been referred to Senate Legislative Operations and Elections. So those are the big ticket bills that I see for our next meeting. Does anybody have any other bills that they want to see? And I'll open this one up to anybody. By then, I think we'll be, Dawn, go ahead.
Thank you. This is Dawn Lyons. Not to put you on the spot, Regina, but since you joined us late and I know that you didn't get to hear our full meeting, I won't hold it against you if you repeat a bill that we already discussed, if you have any ideas that you'd like to add. I know that we invited the CSPD to participate with our legislative subcommittee, so we appreciate you being here. So if you have anything to add, or if you have anything you'd like us to bring to our next agenda, we'd love to hear that. Thanks.
Well, I think you've covered most everything. This is Regina Daniel for the record, that I was interested in the latter part of the meeting that I heard, but I will be looking forward to reading the minutes. And if there's anything that I need to question or add, I will via email, because there are a number of the bills that I have been tracking. So I'm looking forward to the minutes.
And if you come up with any others, just let Dawn and I know, and then we'll make sure before we send it over to the Deputy Attorney General that they get added to the list.
Sounds great.
Because by our next meeting, give me 1/2 second.
I think we just lost Stephen. Oh, he just hit himself for a sec by accident. We'll give him a minute.
By the time we meet next, will be a day from committee passage in the second house. So that means if a bill started in the assembly, it should be in the Senate by then, and vice versa. So that's where we'll be in terms of the session calendar. And we will await any other bills that folks may be interested in before we send off the agenda to the DAG. Moving on to our last agenda item, public comment. Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment at this time? Please note that the chair may place reasonable limitations on the amount of time you're able to speak. John, go ahead.
Hello, John Roseland for the record. I just wanted to make a comment, and it was based on what something Dr. Cosgrove had said about the engagement with legislative people and people bringing something up that led to changes, right? Somebody asked a question. It reminds me of back at a time when I worked for the Northern Nevada Center for Independent Living, and they had a staff person down there providing education for disability related bills, budgets, etc. And what this individual did is they always had the receipts and they always had a plan and they always had the data. And being there and providing the education and factual hard data made so much of a change, and it does. If you're there speaking and you have the backup and you're there and able to speak about how many people are waiting and what services and what those things mean, it can change what happens in a legislative hearing. It can push them to ask state agencies to do some revisions. I mean, it's amazing what can happen with a little bit of education. So when she spoke about that, it reminded me of a little over 15 years ago when that happened, and it was a big impact, I'll tell you, to have somebody there that knows what they're talking about and can speak to that. And when it clicks with somebody on that legislative body, it really does make an impact. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, John. So before I entertain other speakers, I did just remember one other bill that's being heard in Senate HHS on Tuesday. It's Senate Bill 315, which is the People with Disabilities Personal Rights Bill, being sponsored by Senator Scheibel. So I will be testifying on that one. Any other public comment? Hearing and seeing none, we've reached our very last agenda item, which is adjournment. We will adjourn at 3:30. Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
Thanks, Stephen.
Yep,
Thanks, Stephen.
no problem.